Hey everyone! Since elves are currently all over the place, we need a deck to stomp them into the ground. Thanks to Shimiri for coming up with this version of the deck. We'll discuss the defining cards and the synergies of the deck, how to approach the Mulligan, your game plan and passing strategy, and then we'll look at an example match. Tell me which deck to cover next in the comments below and subscribe if you'd like to see more Homecoming deck guides. And now, let's go. Assault Foltest is all about dealing damage to set up 1-point unit on the enemy's board or to deny the enemy's strategies. 1-point units are necessary because the deck utilizes cards like Rivian Pikeman, which deals 1 damage to an enemy but which deals 3 extra damage to another enemy if the 1 damage killed the unit. Fruit Rock, which transforms all soldiers' allies into revenants which deal 1 damage as well, but if it kills the enemy it will spawn another copy of itself onto the row, which can use the ability again. So the more 1-point units the enemy has, the more points you can place on the board. To create the 1-point units, we use a lot of cards that can deal damage with various amounts. Wolfpack deals 2 damage on deploy, damaged sorceresses deal 3 and Vest deals 4. This also allows us to give a unit seal, which comes handy quite often because we also rely on cards with order abilities. One important card with an order ability is Blue Stripe Commando, who summons all other commandos from the deck, spinning it and being worth 8 points. The card gets even better in combination with Blue Stripe Scout, which we can spawn a base copy of the commando at the bottom of the deck. Playing a scout 2 times therefore results in 8 extra points, making the commando play worth 16 points in total. Which is beware. Which we have in the deck as well, of course. Tempo is tempo, right? Some tips on the Blue Stripes Commando. You don't need to wait until you play the Blue Stripe Scout because each commando has the order ability to call out the rest of the deck. So don't sacrifice tempo and use the ability early and each time after you play the Scout. Commandos are also a great way to fill your board with soldiers, so Drog has a lot of targets for the transformation. Try to play commandos in round 1 because thanks to Pavetta you can put all of your commandos back into the deck. Through mulliganing in round 3 or roll decree, you can then play one of them, and with a little help of Foltest lead ability, the enemy can't do anything against your 16-point commander drop. Your lead ability also works well with Gaunt or Dim, because Gunther Dim marks a unit as doomed, and then destroys a doomed unit with his order ability. Thanks to Foltest Seal, you're able to destroy any unit on the board while the enemy has no way of denying that play, except with cards like Pitfall Trap. Aza's Double Cross lets you pull your high provision cards like Gunther, but also Vest or Selkirk, depending on what you have already in your hand. Selkirk is poor points in removal by dueling an enemy. Since this deck relies on damage instead of locks to get rid of threats, Selkirk can be your ace in the hole. Now let's talk about the Mulligan. Thanks to Foltest, we have 4 or 5 Mulligans available, depending if you go first or not. Cards you want to have in your hand in round 1 are exactly 1 Blue Stripe Commando, Blue Stripe Scouts, 1 Witcher, Pavetta and as many tutor cards as possible. Don't use more mulligans as needed to get rid of Witchers and the other commando, because you want to use it in round 3 to look for commandos or roll decree. About our gameplay plan. Get Witchers out of your deck for tempo and thinning, while you use your Blue Stripe units for more tempo and to set up a round 3 commando invasion. If the enemy needs to play the first card, then try to play this round as long as possible while staying ahead at the end of the round so you can acquire card advantage. In case you need to go first, try to isolate a good passing spot after you have dropped your tempo plays, where you think that the enemy can't keep up with you by, only playing 1 card. It's okay to use your power cards like Selkirk to deny enemy engine cards, or cards that could turn the tables for your opponent. However, if ahead, then avoid passing until you're sure that the enemy will end the round with less than 4 cards, or your card advantage won't matter anymore because you'll both draw cards until your hand is full. For example, if you think you can make the enemy play 2 more cards than you, then pass at 5 cards, so the enemy either surrenders the round to you or needs to get down to 3 cards. In case you lost round 1 and the enemy dry passes, play your Pavetta to get the infantries back into your deck so you can look for them in the round 3 mulligan. In round 3, try to set up 1-point targets, get your commandos out, and then transform your soldiers into revenants through Drog, and then try to harness as many points as you can. Since Sabrina is a 1-point spy, you can play her to get additional targets for Revenants, while she helps you to set up 1-point enemies by dealing free damage to all units on the row. It is also advised to keep Gonta with 1 Foltest charge until the very last card, so you can make the most out of him. Typically, we would not talk about how to play against each matchup, but the meta is still too unstable for me to reliably speak about it. Instead, let's get right into a gameplay example to see how this deck looks in action. Foltest versus Foltest. Why not? Let's see. So we're on red, which is good. Let's see if we can create some tempo. We have the Witchers, which are awesome to get some tempo on the board. We only have 1 Blue Stripe Scout, but no Commandos. The question is, do we risk the Mulligan? We have a lot of damaging stuff, we have like the Wolf. Probably risking the Mulligan here. Or we just pull Commandos with Roll Decree. Then we look for Pavetta and stuff later. You know, let's not risk the Mulligan here. Let's just, worst case, use Roll Decree for the Commandos. Let's see. Because it's important that we get Roll Decree, that we get the Commandos on the board in round 1. So we can reuse them later. Yeah, like he does. Question, can we disrupt this or not? Oh. Wow. So he's trying the same thing here. Question is, what can we do? I mean, like, we can just play Witches now. Or we just look for the same... what he does. But then we need to use Foltest to immediately get both out of there. You know what? Let's do it. Let's get the blue stripes out. There we go. Let's place them on the front line, maybe. So if maybe we want to use
nice mesh you've got here.
Let's go Foltest. This way he can't deny it.
Semper Fi!
So we're in equal, and he's now going to use probably Blue Stripe Scouts as well.
Regroup!
Yeah, there we go. Basically, that's the same thing as we do. With like the bony of the tactical advantage. But hey, here we go.
Elves must
die!
die!
Blue Stripe Commando in.
Death to the enemy!
So we're now like exactly 1 tactical advantage behind. Let's see. We still have the Witches. He probably has the Witches as well. And then it also comes down to probably the Rivian Pikeman, like how much I can utilize them.
For the Queen!
We should have maybe played this before those to get like a little bit of edge. The good thing about this though is like... I mean, if you play this now, he will play a unit with Order and it will get boosted immediately. We could use this to get Gonta Silkkirk, I think. It's Gonta. So I'm not sure if I want to do this. Let's just mirror him.
God save the Queen!
Let's just mirror him. As long as we not getting like down like more than 4 points, it's fine. We can always get last say this way. Problem is he has like 1 more seal available than I do. Oh, he's playing exactly the same deck. Oh, now I get like a 1-point unit. That's very good for me.
Pairs late.
We can set up another 3-point unit maybe. 1-point unit, I mean. By this we can play another Rivian Pikeman afterwards. And if he doesn't play unit of Order, we can even kill the cavalry afterwards, which would be awesome. Let's see.
Bloody non-humans.
I question if we use Drog at this point or not. Because Drog is kind of our late game security, with the same security he has. So...
there's not to reason why.
I'm killing another Blue Stripe Scout here. I'm not even killing, I'm like putting it to 1. To give us the option to play Drog if you need to. If we really go down to the last card. If he passes at some point, then we don't play Drog, of course. I think it's also time to get a bit of tempo on the board so we don't allow him to pass anymore.
And fight.
Oh, he's playing the Sergeants, that's interesting. Okay, he's trying to deny us the another Pikeman or the Revenants. Maybe we don't have another Pikeman, so... Witches are 12 points, right? So, if you play Witches, we would go ahead now. I'm going to do this now.
Sure, no problem.
Now he can't pass on us anymore. And since we are like down to 4, if I can keep up the tempo now, everything's fine. And we can now think of actually playing Drog, because we have like a good soldier setup here. Okay, he's doing it. If he does it, then we do it as well. The problem like he has now, he can't play a commando push in the round 3 because like they are now Pikeman and Revenants. So we could get like a bit of a head by just keeping our commandos here and then pulling him out in round 3. Because he can't anymore. So if you pass now, so to say, we would get the edge. Or really go for a card advantage by like going into doing the same thing with our soldiers. Because of more soldiers in the round. And I had like all of those can hit those as well. You know what? I think I'll try to use my Blue Stripes Commandos in round 3 to push. Because he played like Roach, he played Drog. He has like played a lot of tempo cards. I mean, we have played the Witches, of course, so that's like a bit of a problem on our side. But there is Pavetta, that's perfect. So this way we get all the commandos back into the deck. And then we need to see if we can look it up somehow. Like in the round 3 Mulligan, maybe. That's why I'm not using my Mulligans right now. Because I want to keep them for looking up the commandos in round 3. Let's see if he passes or if he wants to play. Because if he doesn't pass, we may actually still get card advantage by staying ahead. Which would be awesome. And if he passes now, then he gets last say, which he really wants to have, I guess. He's not playing the exact same deck as I do. There we go. So this is a perfect spot for our Pavetta, because we can now look for the the commandos in the round 3 Mulligan. So we pass. We don't have last say now, which is a bit of a but the benefit is that we have commandos and he doesn't. Also he played Drog, so we have the Drog commander package 4 and 3. Gonta, awesome. Sabrina, awesome. Now we just need to see if we can look up the commandos with 4 cards. So we're getting rid of Wolfpack, getting rid of Battering Ram. There's the commander. Okay, so we want to play the Wolfpack. I mean, we could still look for Selkirk. And this helps us to like line up something for the Revenants, so I think I'm going to take this. And we start with our commandos again.
Nice mess
so
you've got
again,
here.
we're using Foltest, so he can't deny them. There you go. And if he doesn't kill one of those two, then we can get another one out with the Blue Stripes card. Filling up the row with soldiers, so our draw gets a lot of good targets for Revenants. And then we're going to use Wolfpack, Damned Sorceress, Sabrina and stuff to actually like make the most out of them. I'm also playing some soldiers like the, well, not a Blue Stripe Scout actually, shit. So, okay, that was a misplay of my side. We should have maybe, at least Vess we play in the second row. Because if not, then like we will fill the row with Ravens very, very quickly. The question is if we want to kill this. I mean, like, this will hit our units. Like, West will do 4 damage, but it has reached 2. So, again, we would get another soldier in this row. Do we care is the question. Or do we just let it take a bit? Could also get Selkirk here. Wes would also set up a Selkirk later, or one of our Revenants. Let's kill it.
Lads, time to discuss this later.
I'm doing this to like prevent like the engines from ticking. Currently we're like 50 points ahead, with a good potential for another synergies like Drog, and also we have the Blue Stripe Scout here. So I think we're like really favored currently. We also have like a counter. Question is, when do we release the Drog? I'm definitely going to play Blue Stripe Scout again. We won't have a lot of space for Revenants, that's the problem. But it can still do a bit of damage, so. And we have Sabrina. Which we're gonna play as late as possible. We can even trigger Sabrina with Wolfpack, worst case. Worst case would be triggering Sabrina with Selkirk, but let's hope it doesn't come to that. Worst case would be triggering Sabrina with Gonta, but okay, so he makes a bit space for our Revenants, which is good. Let's get another command.
Regroup!
So there we go.
Nice mess you've got here.
20 to 3, still positive. I mean, he can give a unit seal, but we still have like one Foltest, so he can like do a Selkirk and immediately duel something, or like probably we just keep it for Gonta, because if you seal on Gonta, then we can like destroy any unit on the board like within one turn, and then we can't do anything against it. So Foltest and Gonta is like probably one of the best synergies. What do we have? Here. Okay, he's trying to kill off my soldiers. The question is, I don't have any more soldiers, so I think like it's actually time to just transfer them and like see what's happening. You can always utilize Wolfpack and stuff, so there you go. Yeah, my Revenants. So we're not going to use Seal them. We're going to use Wolfpack, for example, like on Cleaver or on Wes to already spawn a new one. If he plays 4-point units, we have the damn Sorceress. And if he starts to row stack, which probably won't too much, then we can still like use Sabrina on it. And Sabrina is always a good target for a Revenant. So let's see. I'm actually glad that I didn't Mulligan Wolfpack in round 3 now. It really helps to set up the Revenants. And the question is what we do with if we get a good unit for Selkirk. I'm currently thinking like what he could still have in the deck. I mean, the Witches could be still in there, theoretically. Do we see his Mulligans? There's still 3 Mulligans left. Like, I'm not sure if this is like...
I killed for less.
I've not seen the Sergeants though. My Sabrina will probably be played in this row. So we're going to get rid of Cleaver here. Let's play the Wolfpack here. Pew. There we go. One more Revenant. Question is, do we use all the 3 Revenants to spawn another 2? Or do we just keep them for now? Because if you want a Sabrina, this gets killed anyway. I think we just keep them and hope that he can't, like, kill all of those. So we can duel them. Okay. Sure. And then we can use Dance Spectress on Selkirk, which is good. Why does he use Seal if he has Vest already? Oh, he wants to kill the Drog, that's why. Okay, he goes for Valor, he doesn't even get 40 now. You know what?
Huh? What is it?
Let's use 2 Revenants here. There we go. Another one for me. And we keep those 4-point Revenants because they're pretty safe. You can't Scorch them, you can't Epidemic them. And you probably can only kill one of them. So we can always have a target for Sabrina in the ranged row. Let's see. Let's see if he plays more into his ranged row or if he's going to populate the melee row. So my next, depending on what he plays, where we probably want to play Selkirk next. Gonta we keep until the last card. Gonta won't find that much value here because we're not going last. Going last is like where Gonta really shines because you can just kill off the highest unit on the board. But still. We have a decent like advantage here, as I said, like even though Witches come out or something, even Witches like don't really bridge it. I mean they would they would give a lot of value here, but still couldn't be enough currently. So the question is, what ace does he have in the hole? He has one more seal already. Okay, the Witches. There we go. So in this case, we actually want to play Sabrina on the front row, I guess. But we wait one more time to see if he plays there here. And until then we get Selkirk. The question is, does he kill it or not? If he kills it, we have more space for Revenants. If he doesn't kill it, we're going to duel Vest probably. And then we play Sabrina into the front row. And then we fill the row with Revenants. Does he have Seal? Yeah, he has a Seal. Okay. So he's using like the whole Sentences to kill us. The Sentences is probably the target for my Sabrina. For my Gonta, I'm sorry. And we're going to play Sabrina here.
Battles are won or
So
lost
there
by
you
the
go, 3 damage to
commanders,
the whole
not
round.
by sorceresses.
Now we can even create like more revenants by just killing off the 1 point units. There you go. Row full of revenants. Nice. And now the last play will be Gaunter on Synthesis, probably. Except he plays a unit which like offers even more value for Gaunter. This way Gaunter will be a 16-point play thanks to Foltest. 12-point play, I'm sorry, 6. Like 5 plus 1 plus 6. 12 points. Let's see. Except we get a better target now. I mean, he probably doesn't play lacerating stuff. But let's see. And we win. There we go. Nice. Don't forget to tell me which deck I should cover next down in the comments, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Also look out for our Chooser Academy, which will launch very soon. Good luck with the deck, and thanks for watching.